Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, and thank you for joining me once again, Ashley.
Hi.
Today, we're going to talk about the right hand and left hand paths. Now, this isn't going to make anybody in the right hand path or left hand path happy because I have a lot of like middle road kind of ideas when it comes to two different paths and how they both have really good aspects and really bad aspects. Now, the first two that I'd like to talk about is the right hand path. It's ceremonial magic. You have to do everything just right in order to make something happen, or so they say. And you have to do the right foot movements. You have to do the right pronunciations. You have to have the right materials. Everything has to be just so to make a ceremony magical act actually efficient, to make it work. Which actually I don't believe is true. Now my gripe with the left hand path is that a lot of left-hand pathers don't think that karma exists, that something that they do won't come back at them if they do it without some cause, or even if you do it with a cause, they're not willing to accept the repercussions of some kind of spell that they're going to do after they want to take revenge in that way magically. So Ashley, when it comes to the right hand and left hand paths, is there anything that you would like to say about the karma or the difference in the ideology of the ethics of the right hand and left hand paths?
Well, I think so. From my understanding, the right hand path tends to believe very much in karma and karmic return, and the law of three. Some people even say nine, like that things will come back on you, whatever you put out there. The left hand path is a lot more diverse in their beliefs on karma. So some people don't believe in karma whatsoever. Other people have like differing beliefs. I don't feel comfortable necessarily going too in depth with what they believe karmically, but I mean, I kind of am in the middle when it comes to like right versus left as far as my views on karma personally, because I don't think that necessarily everything comes back on a person, but I do think that karma does happen. It sometimes transmutes like the form, but I do think that one way or another karma happens. So.
Yeah. So like let's narrow it down to like one instance. Let's say that somebody was wrong, that this coworker got him fired, even though it was the coworker's action that was fireable. Like the coworker did something and then basically blamed on his other coworker, and that coworker was fired as a result. So that fired coworker, does he have the right to curse or make this person's life through magic terrible? And I think about this a lot of the time. But you can go ahead and give your input first.
Um, I think when we go into the ethical question of whether he has the right to do it, um, I think everyone is given free will and free choices to do whatever they choose. Um, when we cause harm to another being, though, there will be some level, in my opinion, of repercussions. At the very least, I think we will not gain compassion in this lifetime. And when we don't gain in compassion, then ultimately we usually end up kind of by ourselves and our circle gets very small, like our family, our friends, the whole circle gets really small if we don't learn compassion, learn how to love deeply. I think a lot of left-hand pathers do love very deeply, and they have different views on karma. So I don't think there's necessarily like it's not my place to say somebody doesn't have the right to do something because we have free will. But I do think there are repercussions on some level.
And the funny thing is, even if you have let's say there's no karmic debt that you have to repay. If you just have the ability to do this, to curse somebody, you have no karmic debt to come back at you. Um, you're not prepared to let really the next time this happens go. You're not prepared to let things go. And then honestly, even if you don't have karma, that ties up a lot of your personal obligations to your ego. So your ego will keep on telling you, okay, well, let's take karma out of the equation. Your ego will keep on telling you, okay, get back at this person, get back at this person, get back at this person. But you should instead allow yourself to advance to the points where you can just let things go and then you move on with your life. That frees up
Yeah.
a lot of your time, a lot of your spiritual energy, and even if karma doesn't exist, then you can move forward without making this your main spiritual practice, where you're constantly getting back at people,
Yeah.
which is unnecessary when you look at it.
Well, one thing I was going to add with that is a lot of left-hand pathers, especially, I know they want to become basically as godlike as possible, which I respect that aspect. I think that's cool, and that's actually what has led me somewhat towards that path. I don't consider myself left-hand path completely, but that's the aspect that has drawn me in on some level. But to me, it seems like to be godlike, you would kind of just be able to let things go. If you're godlike, you're just like, you know what, you're beneath me. I don't need to curse you necessarily because you're nothing compared to me. Like you know what I mean? Like the things you do to me are nothing compared to, who I am.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's an it's so strange because we have this debate between the right hand and left hand path about karma, but even if we take that out, just like we're saying, just letting things go is so much easier. And really, it makes you more powerful because you do
Yeah.
not attach yourself to the things that happen in the material universe. Like somebody
Yeah.
does this thing to you that you don't like. If you can learn to let it go, things like that will never have the power over you again if you learn how
Yeah.
to do that skillfully. Now,
Yeah.
for me, you can say I do some left-hand path stuff, but it's all about knowledge and strength and defense for me. It's never about, I don't really attack people. I never attack people through spells or get my servitors to attack people because, um, it's not, if something devastating happens to me, it doesn't cross my mind. What crosses my mind is to make myself more powerful,
Hmm.
stronger spiritually. So it's not, I don't blame other people even if they had a hand in it. I blame, I'd more likely blame myself for not being able to deal with the backlash of something happening within the material universe. Then that's the spiritual maturity that needs to happen in order for you to actually move forward on your spiritual path. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I do agree. And also, if we think of ourselves kind of like spiritual warriors, there are times when maybe we do need to be more offensive. But I think defensive is one of the better ways to approach war or being a warrior or a soldier or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Or is that good?
I mean, I like to think of the idea that I create a fortress with my defensive magic to where all these little armies, all these led by generals or led by lieutenants are coming at this fortress that I have, and they just can't get over the walls. They can't harass my fortress, and they just kind of bounce off. And if you have a strong defensive magic background or talisman magic or servitor magic, then you can incorporate all these things to make a fortress where you might not even notice if somebody's actually trying to attack you because your fortress is so strong. And I think
Yeah,
that's way more effective than projecting your power is coalescing your power within this fortress that I'm talking about, which is within yourself as human being.
yeah. And I've heard people that are very strict on the right hand path who are not for defensive magic on any level. Even like they're like we're not into offensive, but also they're not even into defensive. They don't want to do harm on any level under any situation. And I think that you could become a victim under any circumstance, have defensive magic, or I mean, it's kind of like we look at history. The Holocaust. If you're defenseless, that's not a positive thing.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. When I say defense, it is the fortress mentality. It's not the I'm going to kill this person that's coming at me. It's that
Yeah,
I'm so strong that that person will bounce off of my energy.
yeah.
So
And
it,
there are right-hand pathers that are so far to the right who say that even if somebody, they will just willingly let the person. I mean, I've met people who don't believe in vanishings, bindings, anything like that, any level of protective. That's fine if that's how they choose to live, because I'm a live and let live type of a person. But
I guess in that sense, you have to decide what kind of responsibility to your own defense that you have and what
yeah,
you're willing to do. And
love. Because also, like, if somebody messes with somebody that I love, I can perform bindings or use defensive magic. But
well, I mean, I also have my nuclear option, which is extremely left-hand path, where I have the implements and a book, and there's beings in that book that I would use if somebody did something really bad. Like if somebody raped my mother or killed my family member or like cut off my arm, just something terrible, I'd go to my nuclear option. But that is in very much reserve. And if you constantly do things like this, if you constantly go to your most powerful option, then you're actually going to deplete your energy. You're going to deplete your prana. You're going to deplete the magical essence that is honestly capped a lot of the time within any given individual. So you have to decide how you're going to expend that energy. If you're going to expend it that way, choose your battles very well. Otherwise, you're not going to be, by the end of your life, you won't have but a little sputter of magic left in you. When I'm saying magic, I mean the energy that kind of underlies this reality. It might seem endless, but it is endless. But our ability to connect to it is limited because it takes a lot of energy within our own bodies to expend this infinite resource. And
Yeah.
it'll take away from our life. It'll take away from ourselves as a person. And then sometimes you can melt. You use it so much that you just meld into that stream, and you're not an individual anymore. So that's a whole nother topic. But it's I would anybody out there, I'd highly recommend that you expend your energy when it comes to offensive measures very selectively because these are the things that will drain you as a human being in this ego, in this time that you are, whoever you are. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree. Um, I'm more towards the middle path. So I think of defensive magic as more as in the middle, because I think if I have like a fortress around me at all times and different barriers that people can't get through, then I don't have to go into the offensive. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And I honestly I consider myself very gray as well. I'm kind of in between. I don't honestly I don't feel akin to left-hand pathers or right-hand pathers. I'm just kind of this weird combination in between. But really what we get down to is it all comes down to what you want to do, your motivation. What are you trying to do with your life? For me, getting close to Kalima and Odin are my number one things, but also um, getting in touch with their missions. And their missions are to preserve this world for as long as possible and to awaken as many people as possible. So I kind of have gathered within myself this energy of preservation, just like Kali Ma and Odin have. This very strong preservation, trying to keep everything orderly for as long as possible, so that as many people can realize themselves as possible before we retract in after the end of this universe, we go back and then another big bang will happen after billions of years. But anyway, um, it's all about the motivation and what your end goal is for me. And there's a reason why, Odin, he's all about preservation, trying to preserve this world in 9 worlds, 9 different dimension clusters. But there's a reason he has the name of Bolverker, which means evildoer. Like sometimes he actually has to do evil in order to preserve all the worlds, which all the worlds are different dimensions, which have a whole bunch of universes attached to them. But um, sometimes something that is very left-hand path is necessary. But it's all about what you're trying to accomplish, not necessarily, not always the means, but really what you're trying to accomplish with your life, with your magical career, with your spiritual progress. Would you agree?
I do agree. I think intention is very important. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, intention is it's the root of a lot of people who practice magic, whether it's right hand path or left hand path, it doesn't matter. They don't really know what they're working towards, like what they truly want. It's like, okay, they want these little goals. I want this woman. I want this raise. I want to have these things, or I want to have this status. Those are all short-term things, but I don't see enough magical practitioners saying like, I want to realize myself, or I want to get to this certain plane of existence, and I'm working towards attuning myself to that plane of existence. Something grander than just like, I want this or that. But as I think time progresses, as we're entering another magical age, more and more people will start zooming out from these immediate concerns and start really like, okay, what do I really want ultimately? I think more and more
Yeah.
people are going to start doing that. Um, right now we're kind of like in this weird in between phase where like people are tired of religion, they're getting into magic, but eventually people are going to start like more and more people are going to start asking, what do I truly want? Like, what do I, as a soul, what do I want? Is that
Yeah.
something that you see happening as well?
Yeah, I think people are moving away from organized religion and moving more into a space of spirituality for the most part. But people are at different levels, we're at different grades of our progression. So some of us are a little higher and some people are super high and other people are kind of down here with more egoic intentions. And so, yeah, they're looking for a job or, a person that they want to be with or whatever. And those are great goals at first, but you have to keep the progression, keep the ball rolling, in your
Yeah.
lifetime. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess we'll kind of wrap it up here. I have a feeling that we should actually do multiple parts to this this video that is left hand and right hand paths. This is kind of like an introduction, some basic ideas, but I feel like this can be a multi video thing. As
definitely.
far as I'll go ahead and give my advice, and then you can give your advice. As far as when it comes to magic, my advice is try to gain as much knowledge as you can without committing to any singular path at the beginning. So get a feel for all the paths, get a feel for as much knowledge as you can take in all this knowledge, and then eventually you'll hit a path where it goes like, that is the path that I should follow. Or that is the path that I should expand upon. Because sometimes even if it's not laid out for you, you don't want to follow somebody else's path. It's like, okay, well, this is going to be my beginning. So my advice to magical practitioners out there is to take in as much knowledge as you can before committing completely to a path, so that you have your options laid out before you. Is there anything that you'd like to recommend, Ashley?
What I would suggest is that people get rid of the labels and just come from the center of their being, get to know the center of their being, and try to create as beautiful of a world outside of themselves as they can. So that will look different to different people. Some people it will be accomplished through the left hand path, and some people it will be the right hand, and others it will be in the middle. But ultimately, we're here to gain knowledge of the self. So just really get to know that inner sense of self. That's my.
Excellent. Yeah, I totally second that. All right. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them down in the comment section below on YouTube. We will try to address those comments to the best of our ability. If you want to become a patron on my channel, go to www.patreon.com/darkrealist, capital D, capital R. And just $1 a month gets you extra content and helps me put out better content for you. So there's some things that you need to remember. Love yourself, find yourself, and have a great day.